The planet 442b had no official name anymore. The people who lived there simply called it New Harvest. It was a quiet world at the edge of known space, covered in golden fields of wheat and corn that stretched from horizon to horizon. 12,000 humans lived there, and most of them had never seen Earth. Their grandparents had come here as colonists, seeking peace and simple lives away from the busy center of human civilization. Miriam stood at the window of her small office and watched the sunset paint the sky in shades of orange and purple. She was the colony administrator, which sounded important but really meant she handled paperwork and settled arguments between farmers about water rights. She was 53 years old, with gray hair and tired eyes, and she had never fired a weapon in her life. The colony had no military. They had no warships. They had a small security force of 30 men and women who mostly dealt with drunk farmhands and the occasional equipment theft. New Harvest was not important enough to protect. The Galactic Council knew it existed, and Earth knew it existed, but nobody cared about a tiny farming community 200 light-years from anywhere that mattered. This was about to change. The first sign of trouble came when the communication satellites went dark. Miriam was drinking her evening tea when her assistant ran into the office, pale and shaking. The young man could barely speak. He pointed at the sky through the window, and Miriam looked up. Ships, dozens of them. Huge vessels that blocked out the stars, descending through the atmosphere like metal monsters. They were not human ships. Their design was angular and cruel, covered in sharp edges and glowing with an ugly red light. Miriam felt her heart stop. She knew those ships. Everyone in the galaxy knew those ships. The Dominion had come to New Harvest. They were conquerors. They had built their empire by crushing weaker species and taking their worlds. They saw other beings not as equals but as resources to be used. Slaves, cattle, things to be harvested. Their empire stretched across 1,000 star systems, and the Galactic Council did nothing to stop them because they were powerful and useful trading partners. Miriam ran to the emergency communications center. Her hands were shaking as she activated the old equipment that nobody had used in decades. There was a frequency that all human colonies were required to monitor and to use only in the most desperate situations. The Terran emergency frequency. It was a relic from humanity's early days of space exploration, back when the galaxy was new and dangerous. She did not know if anyone would hear. She did not know if anyone would care, but she had to try. "This is Colony Administrator Miriam of New Harvest," she spoke into the microphone, her voice steady despite her fear. "We are under attack by forces. We have no military capability. We have 12,000 civilians, including 2,000 children. We need immediate assistance. Please, someone, anyone, help us." She sent the message on repeat and prayed. In orbit above New Harvest, Overlord of the Third Fleet watched the planet below with satisfaction. His scales were dark green, and his 4 eyes gleamed with hunger. He was tall even for a, and his body was covered in battle scars from 100 conquests. His tactical officer approached with a data pad. "Overlord, we are detecting a transmission from the surface. The humans are sending a distress signal." Laughed. It was a cold, hissing sound. "Let them call. Who will answer? The nearest human military base is 200 light-years away. By the time anyone comes, this planet will be ours and these humans will be working in our mines." "Should we jam the signal, Overlord?" "No, let the galaxy hear their screams. Let other human colonies know what happens to those who exist at the edge of protected space. Fear is a useful tool." Had heard stories about humans. They called themselves creatures who had evolved on a planet so hostile that it made them into natural survivors. Some species whispered that humans were dangerous, that they should not be challenged. Did not believe these stories. He had seen the colony below. Farmers, women and children, old people tending crops. These were not warriors, these were prey. He gave the order to begin landing troops. On the surface, chaos erupted. Soldiers poured out of landing craft, their weapons firing into the air to spread terror. Colonists ran screaming through the streets of the small towns. There was nowhere to go. There was nowhere to hide. But something strange happened. The humans did not simply surrender. Farmers grabbed old hunting rifles. Mechanics used heavy equipment as weapons. Parents stood in front of their children and refused to move, even when facing certain death. The small security force fought back with everything they had, taking down soldiers before being overwhelmed. Watched the reports from his command ship with growing irritation. This was supposed to be easy. These were just farmers. Why were they fighting so hard? It took 3 days to fully secure the colony. 3 days, against farmers, had lost more soldiers than he had expected, and his patience was gone. He ordered prisoners brought to him for questioning. When he saw the humans up close, he felt something strange, unease. Their eyes did not look afraid. Even beaten, even bleeding, they stared at him with hatred and defiance. His science officer ran biological scans on the prisoners and went pale. "Overlord," the officer said, "these creatures, their blood contains iron, which is toxic to most species. Their bones are dense enough to be used as weapons. They have redundant organs. They can survive injuries that would kill any." Grabbed the officer by the throat. "What are you saying?" "I am saying, Overlord, that the stories about may be true. These humans evolved on a world of extreme gravity, dangerous predators, extreme weather, and deadly diseases. They are not soft. They are survivors." Threw the officer aside. "It does not matter, we have won. The planet is ours." But deep in space, something was waking up. In the Sol system, at the heart of human civilization, an automated relay station near Jupiter received the distress signal from New Harvest. The station had been dormant for 400 years. It was a relic from a time when humanity was at war with itself and with the galaxy. Red lights began to flash. Systems that had been sleeping for centuries came online. The signal was authenticated as a genuine Terran emergency transmission. Within seconds, the message was sent to every human military installation in the galaxy. On 100 worlds, alarms sounded. Soldiers who had never seen real combat looked up from their posts. Officers who had spent their careers doing paperwork suddenly found themselves preparing for war. The sleeping giant had heard the call, and it was very, very angry. The Galactic Council met in their great chamber on the station called Unity Point. Representatives from 200 species sat in their assigned seats, surrounded by floating screens and translation devices. The chamber was designed to impress visitors with the power and unity of the galaxy's civilized races. Today, the chamber was filled with nervous whispers. Ambassador of the Helios Confederation stood at the central platform. He was a tall, thin creature with silver skin and 3 eyes that blinked in sequence. His voice echoed through the chamber as he spoke. "We have received confirmed reports that the Dominion has attacked a human colony. The planet is called New Harvest. 12,000 humans live there. They have taken control and are holding the population prisoner." Murmurs spread through the chamber. Several representatives shifted uncomfortably in their seats. "What do we intend to do about this?" asked a delegate from the Union. Ambassador spread his hands. "What can we do? They are a major trading partner. Their military is one of the strongest in the galaxy. We cannot afford a war with them over one small colony." "Then we do nothing. We issue a formal protest. We express our concern, but we cannot risk the stability of the entire council for 12,000 humans." In the back of the chamber, a single figure stood up. He was small compared to the other delegates, with gray fur and large, dark eyes. His name was, and he was the ambassador from a minor species called the had been allies with humanity for 300 years. They knew humans better than almost anyone. "You are making a terrible mistake," said. His voice was quiet but somehow carried through the entire chamber. Ambassador looked annoyed. And what mistake would that be? You think this is about 12,000 humans. You think they have won some small victory. You do not understand what a Terran emergency signal means. Explain yourself. Walked slowly to the center platform. Every eye in the chamber watched him. 300 years ago, he began, humanity nearly destroyed itself. They fought wars of such destruction that their own planet almost died. They killed billions of their own kind. They created weapons that could burn entire continents. He paused and looked around the chamber. And then they stopped. They looked at what they had done and decided to become something better. They channeled their aggression outward. They became explorers, protectors. For 300 years they have been the peacekeepers of this galaxy. They have settled disputes. They have protected the weak. They have built alliances based on trust and mutual respect. A delegate laughed from across the chamber. You speak of humans as if they are something to fear. We have crushed dozens of species. These are just another prey animal with better marketing. Turned to face the delegate. His eyes were calm. You have made the same mistake that so many have made before you. You see that humans are friendly. You see that they smile and trade and build farms on quiet planets. You think this means they are soft. He shook his head slowly. Humans are not soft. They are the most dangerous species in this galaxy. They evolved on a world that tried to kill them every single day. Their planet has extreme temperatures, deadly predators, poisonous plants, and natural disasters that would destroy most civilizations. And they did not just survive. They conquered their world. They bent it to their will. The chamber was silent now. For 300 years, there has been peace, and the galaxy has forgotten why they were afraid of humans. You have forgotten what they are capable of when they are angry. Ambassador frowned. Are you saying the humans will respond to this attack? I am saying that every human in the galaxy just received that distress signal. Every human knows that 12,000 of their people are in danger, and you need to understand something about humans that you have never understood. Looked directly at the delegate. They do not calculate cost. They do not measure risk. When their people are in danger, they come, all of them. No matter how far, no matter how dangerous, they come. Far across the galaxy, on the occupied world of New Harvest, Overlord was learning this lesson firsthand. The colonists would not stop fighting. They had no weapons, no training, no hope of victory, but they fought anyway. They sabotaged equipment. They hid information. They protected each other with their own bodies. Had captured several hundred prisoners for questioning. He sat in his command tent and stared at the human sitting across from him. The man was old, perhaps 60 years by human counting. His face was covered in blood from a beating, but his eyes were steady. Tell me the access codes to your communication systems, demanded. The old man smiled. No. I will kill you. Then kill me. Leaned forward. Why do you resist? You have lost. Your colony is ours. Your people will serve the Dominion. Why do you not simply accept this? The old man laughed. It was a genuine laugh, full of something that did not understand. You really do not know, do you? You have no idea what you have done. I have conquered your pathetic colony. That is what I have done. The old man shook his head. You have touched us. You have hurt our people. And now the signal has gone out. Every human in the galaxy knows what you have done. And what will they do? Send a strongly worded message. Your nearest military base is 200 light years away. No help is coming. The old man leaned back in his chair. Despite his injuries, despite his chains, he looked almost peaceful. They are coming, he said quietly. All of them. And when they arrive, you will understand why the galaxy learned to fear humanity. You will understand why empires that were ancient before your species learned to make fire chose to be our friends rather than our enemies. Stood and drew his blade. You are a fool, no one is coming for you. They are already on their way, I can feel it. 3 days later, Sensor Officer came running into the command tent, her scales pale with terror. Overlord ships, coming out of faster-than-light travel, hundreds of them, pushed past her and ran to the command center. He stared at the sensor display, and his blood went cold. Not hundreds, thousands. The display was filled with contacts, human warships, dreadnoughts the size of small moons, carriers launching fighters by the thousands, destroyers and cruisers in perfect formation, ships that looked ancient, covered in ceremonial markings, vessels that had not left their docks in centuries. "How many?" whispered. The sensor officer's voice shook. "We stopped counting at 15,000, Overlord, and more are arriving every minute." Stared at the screen. 15,000 warships, for one colony of 12,000 farmers. In the prisoner-holding area, the old man heard the distant rumble of ships entering the atmosphere. He closed his eyes and smiled. "They came," he whispered. "They always come." The human fleet hung in space like a wall of steel and fire. Ships of every size and design filled the darkness, their engines glowing blue against the black void. At the center of the formation sat the flagship, a massive dreadnought called the Unconquered Sun. It was 3 kilometers long, covered in weapons that could crack planets open like eggs. On the bridge of the Unconquered Sun, Fleet Admiral stood with his hands clasped behind his back. He was 61 years old, with dark skin and gray hair cut short in military style. His uniform was simple and clean, without decoration except for a single metal pinned over his heart. He stared at the planet below, at the ships that looked like insects compared to his fleet, and he felt a cold anger burning in his chest. His family name was, somewhere on that planet a woman named Miriam was being held prisoner. They had never met. They were distant cousins, separated by generations and hundreds of light years, but she was family. She was human, and that was enough. "Open a channel to the command ship," ordered. His voice was calm and flat. His communication officer nodded. "Channel open, Admiral." Spoke, and his words were broadcast to every ship in the fleet, to every soldier on the ground, to the entire planet below. "This is Fleet Admiral of the Terran Combined Forces. You have attacked a human colony. You have killed our people. You have taken our civilians prisoner. These actions are unacceptable." He paused, letting the weight of his words settle. "You have 60 seconds to surrender unconditionally. Lay down your weapons. Release all prisoners. Prepare to be taken into custody for war crimes. If you do not comply, we will destroy every ship in your fleet and every soldier on the ground. There will be no negotiation. There will be no mercy. Your 60 seconds begin now." In the command ship, Overlord stared at the communication screen with disbelief. His fleet had 42 ships. The humans had brought more than 15,000. The numbers were so absurd that his mind struggled to accept them. But was a proud warrior. He had conquered dozens of worlds. He would not bow to these soft creatures. "Respond to their transmission," he ordered. His officer opened the channel and spoke with all the authority he could gather. "I am Overlord of the Dominion. We do not surrender. We do not bow to threats. You may have more ships, but they are warriors born. We will fight to the last soldier. We will." The human admiral interrupted him. His voice was ice. "Your 60 seconds are over." The battle began. It lasted 11 minutes. They had never faced human warships in combat. They had heard stories, but stories were not the same as experience. They learned the truth in fire and blood. Human ships moved in ways that should have been impossible. They accelerated and turned at speeds that would have crushed any crew. Human pilots pulled maneuvers that the laws of physics, pushing their bodies to limits that other species could not imagine. Watched his fleet die. Ships exploded like fireworks. His tactical display filled with red markers, each one representing a destroyed vessel. His commanders screamed for orders, for help, for anything. There was nothing he could do. Human fighters swarmed around the ships like angry insects. Missiles streaked through space in waves so thick they looked like solid walls of death. The humans did not fight with caution. They fought with fury. Every shot was precise. Every attack was devastating. In the middle of the chaos, saw something that broke his spirit completely. Human Marines. They came in small assault craft, breaching the hulls of ships and entering through the torn metal. They wore heavy armor and carried weapons designed for close combat, and they fought in the vacuum of space without hesitation, without fear, as if the cold void was just another battlefield. Watched through security cameras as human Marines boarded his own ship. They moved through the corridors like ghosts, killing with terrible efficiency. His soldiers, warriors who had conquered 100 worlds, fell before them like grass before a scythe. A human Marine appeared on his bridge. The man was tall, his armor scorched and dented from combat. He raised his weapon and pointed it at. "Overlord," the Marine said through his helmet speakers, "you are under arrest for crimes against humanity. You will come with us. The Admiral wishes to speak with you." Considered fighting. He considered dying with honor, but looking into the dark visor of the human Marine, he saw something that made him freeze. The human was not even breathing hard. This battle, this massacre had been nothing to him, just another day, just another job. Lowered his weapon and surrendered. They brought him to the unconquered sun, to a small room where Admiral waited. The human looked tired but satisfied. He sat across from and studied him with dark eyes. "Do you understand now?" asked quietly. "Do you understand what you did?" His voice was hollow. "We attacked a farming colony. We expected no resistance." "You attacked our people. That is all that matters." This response is insane. 15,000 ships for 12,000 farmers. This is not proportional. This is not rational. Leaned forward. "You are correct. It is not rational. It is human." He stood and walked to the window, looking out at the planet below. "We do not calculate the value of our people based on numbers. Every human life is worth this fleet. Every child on that planet is worth 10,000 warships. We came not because it was practical, but because it was necessary." Shook his head. "You cannot be everywhere. You cannot protect every colony. There are too many humans spread too far across the galaxy." Turned back to face him. For the first time, a hint of something dangerous flickered in his eyes. "You are right. We cannot be everywhere. That is why we must make examples. That is why every species in the galaxy must understand one simple truth." He placed his hands on the table and leaned close to. "If you touch our people, we will come for you. No matter where you hide. No matter how strong you are. We will bring every ship, every soldier, every weapon we have. And we will not stop until the threat is eliminated forever." Felt genuine terror for the first time in his life. "What happens now?" he whispered. Now straightened up. "Now you are going to help us send a message to your emperor. The fleet is not returning home. We are going to your... You cannot mean to attack Prime. We have a population of 9 billion. The Council would never allow." "The Council does not command the Terran forces. We do not need their permission. We do not ask for their approval. We protect our own. And we ensure that what happened here never happens again." Turned to leave, then stopped at the door. "You wanted to know what our overlord. Now you know. We are the species that walks into hell and comes back stronger. We are the species that never forgets and never forgives. We are humanity." He walked out, leaving alone with the weight of his terrible mistake. The news spread across the galaxy like fire through dry grass. The Third Fleet had been destroyed in 11 minutes. 15,000 human warships were now moving toward Prime, the heart of the Dominion, the home of 9 billion. In the great palace on Prime, Emperor sat on his throne of bones and tried to control his fear. He was the supreme ruler of 1,000 conquered worlds. His ancestors had built an empire through blood and terror. No species had ever dared to challenge the dominion directly. Until now. How long until they arrive? He asked his advisors. 3 days, Your Magnificence. Their fleet is moving at maximum speed. What are our military assets? The military commander stepped forward. His scales were pale with stress. We have called back all fleets from our territory. We will have approximately 800 warships ready to defend the 800 against 15,000. Yes, Your Magnificence. And, the commander hesitated, our intelligence reports that additional human ships are joining the fleet. The count is now over 20,000. Emperor gripped the arms of his throne until his claws left marks in the ancient bone. Contact the Galactic Council. Demand they intervene. We have, Your Magnificence. The Council has refused. They say this is a matter between the Dominion and the Terran forces. They will not interfere. Cowards. The commander lowered his head. There is one more thing, Your Magnificence. Our intelligence has discovered something disturbing. What? The humans have known about us for centuries. They have studied our military, our technology, our tactics. They know the location of every fleet, every base, every weapon system. They have been watching us. Why did they never act against us? Because we never gave them a reason. We conquered species that had no protectors. We avoided human colonies. We were careful. The commander's voice dropped to a whisper, until Overlord decided to take new harvest. The Emperor stared at his commander with growing horror. The Dominion had built its empire on conquest, on taking what they wanted from the weak. They had thought themselves hunters. They had been prey all along, prey that the humans had simply chosen not to hunt. In the Galactic Council chamber, the delegates watched the human fleet's progress on massive displays. The chamber was silent. No one argued. No one debated. They simply watched. Ambassador of the stood apart from the others. A delegate from the Helios Confederation approached him nervously. You were right, the Helios delegate said. About the humans, we did not believe you. Nodded slowly. Few do until they see it for themselves. Will they destroy Prime? Will they kill billions? Was quiet for a long moment. You do not understand humans. You see their anger and assume it means mindless destruction. But humans are not mindless. They are calculating. They are precise. Then what will they do? They will do exactly what is necessary to ensure this never happens again. No more, no less. Looked at the display at the wall of ships moving through space. That is what makes them terrifying. They control their rage. They direct it with purpose. They would prefer mindless destruction. Mindless destruction can be survived, rebuilt from. What the humans will do cannot be recovered from. On the unconquered sun, Admiral reviewed the reports from New Harvest. The colonists were safe. Miriam was alive. The occupation forces had surrendered once they saw what happened to their fleet. But felt no satisfaction. Not yet. The job was not finished. He stood in the conference room with his senior officers, studying maps of Prime. The planet was heavily defended with orbital stations, ground-based weapons, and the remaining fleet. We could destroy them all, said his tactical officer. One concentrated assault. Their defenses cannot stop 20,000 ships. No, said firmly. We are not here to commit genocide. We are here to send a message. What kind of message, Admiral? Walked to the window and looked out at the stars. Humanity has a complicated history, he said quietly. We have done terrible things to each other, wars that killed billions, weapons that could end all life on our world. We came very close to destroying ourselves more than once. He turned back to face his officers. But we also learned. We learned that destruction without purpose is meaningless. We learned that true strength is not about how much you can destroy. It is about how much you can control. They understand only violence. We will show them something they have never seen before. And what is that, Admiral? Restraint. Eyes were hard. We will surround their world with enough firepower to burn it to ash, and then we will not fire a single shot. We will make them understand that their survival is a choice we are making, a choice we could change at any moment. That fear, that knowledge, will last longer than any bombardment. The fleet arrived at Prime on schedule. 23,000 human warships dropped out of faster-than-light travel and surrounded the planet in a sphere of steel and weapons. From the surface, the night sky disappeared. It was replaced by the lights of human ships, so many that they looked like new stars. Emperor watched from his palace balcony. His hands were shaking. The human ships did not fire. They simply waited in perfect formation, their weapons powered and ready. Then the transmission came. Admiral's face appeared on every screen on the planet, in every home, every building, every ship. "People of the Dominion," he said, "I am here to tell you what happens now. You will listen." The Emperor tried to speak, to respond, to negotiate. His communication officers worked frantically to open a channel, but was not finished. "Your military attacked a peaceful human colony. They killed our people. They imprisoned our civilians. This is unacceptable." His voice was calm, almost gentle. That made it worse. "I have enough firepower surrounding your world to destroy every city, every building, every trace of your civilization. I could give that order right now, and there is nothing you could do to stop me." He paused. "But I will not give that order, not because I am weak, not because I am merciful, but because humanity does not destroy what can be taught. You have made a terrible mistake. You will learn from it." The Emperor finally managed to open a communication channel. "What do you want?" he pleaded. "Name your terms. We will pay any price." Looked directly into the camera. "Your military will be dismantled. Your war fleets will be surrendered to neutral parties. The leaders responsible for the attack on New Harvest will face trial for their crimes. The species you have conquered will be freed. The Dominion will still exist, but you will never again have the power to threaten anyone. That is the end of our empire." "Yes, it is. You built your empire on the suffering of others. Now it ends, but your people will survive, your culture will continue. You will have a chance to build something better." Leaned forward slightly. "This is mercy, Emperor. This is what mercy looks like from a species that could choose annihilation instead. Remember that. Teach your children, teach their children. Remember what happened when you touched humanity." The Emperor had no choice. With 23,000 weapons pointed at his world, with his military shattered, with no allies coming to help, he accepted the terms. And across the galaxy, every species watched. Every empire, every kingdom, every civilization saw what happened when humans were pushed too far. They would not forget. The surrender was signed in the great hall of the Emperor's palace. It was a humiliating ceremony. Emperor, once the most powerful ruler in the Dominion's history, knelt before a human admiral and pressed his claw to the documents that ended his empire's military power. The terms were strict but not cruel. They would keep their and their colonies. Their people would not be harmed, but their war fleets would be dismantled. Their conquered territories would be freed. An overlord, along with the officers responsible for the attack on New Harvest, would face trial before a galactic tribunal. Admiral watched the ceremony with a face that revealed nothing. When it was over, he turned and walked out of the palace without saying a word. His job here was done. But there was one more thing he needed to do. The shuttle landed on New Harvest 3 days later. The planet was recovering slowly. Buildings were being rebuilt. Farms were being replanted. The colonists moved through their daily tasks with the tired determination of people who had survived the unsurvivable. Miriam stood at the edge of the landing field, watching the shuttle descend. She was thinner than before, with new lines on her face and gray in her hair that had not been there a month ago, but her eyes were still sharp, still strong. The shuttle door opened, and a man in a naval uniform walked down the ramp. He was tall and straight-backed, with dark skin and eyes that carried the weight of terrible decisions. They looked at each other for a long moment. "Admiral," Miriam said formally. "Administrator," replied. A long pause stretched between them. Then Miriam's formal expression cracked and she smiled. It was a tired smile but genuine. "Thank you for coming," she said. "You sent the signal. We will always come." Miriam nodded slowly. She turned and looked at her colony, at the damaged buildings and the tired people, at the children playing in the rubble. "I never thought anyone would hear," she admitted. "We are so far from everything, so small. I thought we did not matter." Stepped forward and stood beside her. "Every human matters, every colony, every child. That is not just a saying, that is who we are." They did not understand that. No, they did not. They thought we calculate value the way they do, by numbers, by usefulness, by power. Shook his head. They will never make that mistake again. They walked through the colony together, the admiral and the administrator, two people who shared a family name but had never met before this moment. Colonists stopped their work to watch them pass. Some nodded in respect. Others simply stared, still unable to believe what had happened. An old man sat on a bench near the center of town. His face was bruised and his arm was in a sling, but he was smiling. Recognized him from the intelligence reports. This was the man who had told that help was coming. The man who had believed even when there was no reason to believe. The old man looked up as they approached. "So you are the admiral who brought the armada?" "I am." The old man studied him for a moment. "I told you were coming. They did not believe me. They laughed." "They are not laughing now." "No, no, they are not." The old man's smile widened. "I knew you would come. I have never been to Earth. I have never met anyone from the inner colonies. But I knew. When you are human, you know." Placed a hand on the old man's shoulder. "Rest now. You have earned it." In the weeks that followed, the galaxy changed. The Galactic Council, shaken by what they had witnessed, formally requested that humanity take a more active role in peacekeeping. Ambassador spoke before the full assembly, his small frame standing tall on the central platform. "For 300 years we have enjoyed peace," said. "We took it for granted. We forgot who was maintaining it. We forgot why aggressive empires like the Never turned their attention to our worlds." He looked around the chamber at the assembled delegates. The humans were always watching, always protecting. They did not ask for recognition. They did not demand payment. They simply stood guard while the rest of us lived our comfortable lives. The chamber was silent. Now we have seen what happens when that protection is tested. We have seen the sleeping giant wake. And we must decide. Do we continue to take humanity for granted, or do we acknowledge them as the guardians they have always been? The vote was unanimous. Humanity was granted permanent oversight of galactic peacekeeping operations, not because the Council ordered it, but because they asked, because they finally understood. On Earth, in the old United Nations building that had been preserved as a museum, historians began updating the records. A new chapter was being written in human history, the chapter about the forgotten colony and the armada that answered their call. Years passed, decades. The story of New Harvest became legend. It was taught in schools across the galaxy. Children of every species learned about the tiny farming colony and the impossible response to its distress signal. 1,000 years later, on a planet far from Earth, a young alien child sat on their parents' lap and looked up at the stars. "Why are humans special?" the child asked. "They are not the species, they are not the strongest, they are not the oldest. Why does everyone respect them so much?" The parent was quiet for a moment, thinking about how to explain something so complicated. Long ago, the parents said, there was a small human colony on a forgotten planet. They were farmers. They had no weapons, no military, no protection. An empire attacked them thinking they were weak, thinking no one would care. The child listened with wide eyes. But the humans cared. Every human in the galaxy cared. When the distress signal went out, 20,000 warships answered. 20,000 for one small colony of 12,000 farmers. They did not ask if it was practical. They did not calculate the cost. They simply came. That seems like too many ships. Yes, it was. That was the point. The humans were not just saving their people. They were sending a message that every species in the galaxy would remember forever. What message? The parent looked up at the stars, at the distant lights that might be human ships, still watching, still protecting. The message was simple: we will always come for our people, no matter how far, no matter how small, no matter how hopeless. If you are human, you are never alone, and if you hurt humans, there is no place in the galaxy where you can hide. The child thought about this for a while. Is that why no one attacks human colonies anymore? That is exactly why. Other species look at humans and see farmers and traders and scientists. They see friendly faces and peaceful intentions, but they also remember New Harvest. They remember what those friendly farmers are capable of when they are pushed too far. The child nodded slowly, understanding in the way children do, without needing to understand every detail. There are many species in the galaxy, the parent said, pulling the child close. Some are smarter than humans, some are stronger, some are older, but none of them, not one, protects their own the way humans do. Above them, the stars continued their eternal dance, and somewhere among them, the descendants of a small farming colony still tended their fields, still lived their quiet lives, never forgetting the day the Armada came, never forgetting that they were never truly alone. And somewhere in the darkness of space, human ships still watched, still waited, still ready. Because that was what humanity did. That was what humanity would always do. They protected their own. Forever,